A signed declaration from a canonical religious institute states, in plain English, Pope Leo XIV is not the Pope. Neither was Francis. Neither was Benedict XVI. Neither was John Paul II. The chair of Peter has been vacant since the death of Pius XII in 1958. This is not the ranting of a lone blogger. This is the official position of the Sons of the Most Holy Redeemer, the Transalpine Redemptorists of Papa Stronsay, Scotland, a congregation of 20 monks living on a 7-mile island in the Orkney archipelago. If the See of Peter were to teach error, their May 2026 declaration reads, then beyond any possible doubt, the person teaching that error is not a Catholic pope. And if he is not a Catholic pope, he is no pope at all. The document condemns the reforms of the Second Vatican Council as having brought about a major schism from a mystical body and calls for an imperfect General Council to resolve the crisis. Every pope from Paul VI onward is dismissed as a papal pretender. What makes this extraordinary is not the sedevacantist position itself, which has existed since Archbishop Lefebvre's time, but the fact that this community was formally reconciled with the Vatican in 2012 under Pope Benedict XVI. Pope Benedict granted them canonical status. They were recognized as a religious institute of pontifical right. For 12 years, they operated under that status. Now, they have publicly repudiated it. There has been a great mistake on our part, the community wrote in November 2024, to think that the hierarchy of the novice ordo was sufficiently Catholic for us to operate under its command. What triggered this reversal? A series of collisions with the post-conciliar hierarchy. In July 2024, Bishop Michael Gielen of Christchurch, New Zealand, ordered the Redemptorists out of his diocese within 24 hours. The community had a house there. They were given 1 day to leave. They took canonical action, but the Vatican upheld the bishop's decision. Then, in early May 2025, the Dicastery for the Doctrine of the Faith under Cardinal Manuel Fernández issued Mater Populi Fidelis, a document signed by Pope Leo XIV declaring it inappropriate to apply the title Co-Redemptrix to the Blessed Virgin Mary. For a congregation whose charism is devotion to Our Lady of Perpetual Succor, this was the final rupture. If Mary is not Co-Redemptrix, a monk-told life site, then the gospel itself is overturned. In October 2025, the community issued an open letter to the Catholic bishops, priests, religious, and faithful, pledging to offer the traditional Mass to any soul who asks, even if the entire hierarchy abandons them. Within a week, Bishop Hugh Gilbert of Aberdeen announced that he had contacted the Vatican to determine the group's canonical standing. The diocese deeply regrets the tone, direction, and key elements of this letter, he said. As of May 2026, the Vatican's competent dicasteries are still studying the situation. Here is the insight that traditionalist Catholics must confront. The Redemptorists are not lunatics. They are men who lived for 12 years in full communion with Rome, hoping that patient fidelity would reform the Church from within. They watched Pope Francis's Traditionis Custodes suppress the Latin Mass. They watched Pope Leo XIV retain Cardinal Arthur Roche, the architect of that suppression. They watched bishops like Michael Martin and Charlotte ban altar rails and kneelers. And they concluded that the problem is not the Pope's policies, it is the Pope's office itself. Most traditionalists will not follow them over that cliff. The vast majority of Latin Mass attendees, according to the 2024 Bullavant Cranny study, accept the Second Vatican Council and recognize Pope Leo as the valid pontiff. But the Redemptorists pose an uncomfortable question. At what point does a hierarchy's betrayal of the faith become so complete that obedience becomes impossible? Father Michael Mary Sim, their founder ordained by Archbishop Lefebvre in 1988, has given his answer. The tragedy is that he may not be the last.